Ever been there? Staring at a network problem, just completely stumped, with no idea where to even start looking? Well, what if I told you there's a map for that? A 7-layer guide that can lead you straight to the source of the problem. That map is the OSI model. And today, we're going to transform it from some dry academic idea into your #1 go-to tool for solving real-world network headaches. Let's dive in. So here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what the OSI model actually is. Then, we're going to build it from the ground up, layer by layer, starting with the cables under your desk, all the way to the apps on your screen. And to wrap it all up, I'll give you a super handy quick guide to lock all this in for your CompTIA exam.
Welcome to the ASM Educational Center. Today, we will talk about Section 1.1 from the CompTIA Network Plus exam. And we're starting with the bedrock, the absolute foundation of it all, the framework that makes all network communication even possible.
So let's just get right to it. What in the world is this OSI model? And more importantly, why should you care? Why is it so critical for you to understand?
Okay, don't let the fancy definitions scare you. Think of it like a universal rulebook for how computers talk to each other. It takes the super complex process of sending data and breaks it down into 7 separate, manageable jobs. This gives us a logical, step-by-step way to figure out what's happening and, more importantly, to figure out what's broken when things go wrong.
And that's the magic number, 7. 7 layers, and each one has a very specific job to do. Getting a handle on these is the first step to becoming a networking pro. That wraps up Section 1.1. Make sure to check out the next section as we continue exploring the topics in the CompTIA Network Plus exam.
Welcome to the ASM Educational Center. Today, we will talk about Section 1.1 from the CompTIA Network Plus exam. We're starting right at the bottom of the stack, with the layers that create the actual, tangible connections in any network. All right, Layer 1, the physical layer. This is all the stuff you can literally touch and see. We're talking about the hardware that's responsible for moving the raw data, the ones and the zeros, from one place to another. There's no fancy logic here. It's just the pure physics of sending a signal. So yeah, this is where your Ethernet cables, your fiber optics, and even those old-school hubs live. For your exam, you'll definitely want to know the difference between cable types like UTP and STP. And pay close attention to the term attenuation. That's just a technical way of saying the signal gets weaker the further it has to travel.
And here's the perfect real-world example. A user can't get online. You look under their desk and, yep, the cable is unplugged. You just diagnosed and solved a Layer 1 problem. Simple as that. See? You're already doing it. Okay, let's move one step up the ladder to Layer 2. Now that we have a physical path for the signal, we need a way to organize that data for a trip between 2 devices that are on the exact same network. That's where the data link layer jumps in. The big idea here is the MAC address. You know, that unique hardware ID burned into every network card? Layer 2 uses those addresses to get data where it needs to go, bundling those raw bits from Layer 1 into neat little packages called frames. The hero of this layer is the network switch. It's like a super fast local mail sorter. For the exam, you gotta know frame and ARP. That's the magic protocol for figuring out which MAC address goes with which IP address. So here's your troubleshooting scenario. 2 PCs are plugged into the same switch, but they can't ping each other. The cables are good, so it's not Layer 1. The problem is almost certainly at Layer 2. Maybe a bad port on the switch, or a VLAN is set up wrong. That wraps up Section 1.1. Make sure to check out the next section as we continue exploring the topics in the CompTIA Network Plus exam.
Welcome to the ASM Educational Center. Today, we will talk about Section 1.1 from the CompTIA Network Plus exam. Now we're getting to the heart of the model, the layers that take our data off the local street and onto the global highway. Welcome to Layer 3, the network layer. You can pretty much think of this as the internet itself. Its one and only job is to move data between different networks. You know, if Layer 2 is like delivering mail on your own block, Layer 3 is the entire global postal service, figuring out the best route to get a letter from your house to another country. And its most important tool for the job? The IP address. That's the logical postal code-like address for your device on the internet. The key piece of hardware here is the router. Routers look at the IP address on data bundles, which we now call packets, and make smart decisions about the best path to send them on their way.
On the exam, if you see IP address, routing, or ICMP, your brain should immediately scream, Layer 3.
Okay, so our packet, thanks to Layer 3, has traveled across the internet and arrived at the right computer. Awesome. But how do we make sure all the packets made it and that they're put back in the right order? And how does the computer know to send it to your web browser and not, say, your printer? Well, that's the critical job of Layer 4, the transport layer. It's the ultimate quality control manager.
Now, Layer 4 has two main flavors, TCP and UDP. This is a huge concept. TCP is like sending a package with delivery confirmation. It sets up a connection, makes sure every piece arrives, and asks for a resend if something's missing. It's super reliable, but a little slower. UDP, on the other hand, is like throwing a postcard in the mailbox. It's fast, you just fire it off and hope for the best. This is perfect for stuff like video streaming or online games, where a tiny glitch isn't the end of the world, but speed is everything. That wraps up section 1.1. Make sure to check out the next section as we continue exploring the topics in the CompTIA Network Plus exam.
Welcome to the ASM Educational Center. Today, we will talk about section 1.1 from the CompTIA Network Plus exam. We've made it to the top of the OSI model. These last three layers are all about taking that raw data and turning it into something we humans can actually see and use.
These top three layers are basically best friends. They work together very closely. Here's the simple version. Layer 5, the session layer, is like the receptionist that starts and ends the phone call between two applications. Layer 6, the presentation layer, is the universal translator. It handles stuff like encryption with SSL/TLS and makes sure a JPEG file actually looks like a picture. And finally, Layer 7, the application layer, is the one you actually click on. It's your web browser using HTTP or your email client using SMTP. And that's it, from the cable to the click. That wraps up section 1.1. Make sure to check out the next section as we continue exploring the topics in the CompTIA Network Plus exam.
Welcome to the ASM Educational Center. Today, we will talk about section 1.1 from the CompTIA Network Plus exam. Okay, you've done the hard work of learning the layers. Now, let's forge all that knowledge into the ultimate cheat sheet to help you crush this section of the test.
First things first, you need a way to remember the layers in order. Here it is, your secret weapon. All people seem to need data processing. Say it out loud. Burn it into your brain. It's the absolute best way to remember the layers from top to bottom. Application, presentation, session, transport, network, data link, physical. It just works. Now screenshot this. Write it down, do whatever you have to do, because this table is pure gold. The exam isn't just going to ask you to list the layers. It's going to throw a technology at you and ask, where does this live? This is your answer key. IP address, that's Layer 3. MAC address, Layer 2. TCP or UDP, Layer 4, no question. Encryption like SSL, that's Layer 6. And the protocols you use every day like HTTP and DNS, they're all the way up at Layer 7. This is the stuff you got to know.
So there you have it. We've gone from a single cable all the way up to the web browser on your screen. You don't just have a list of terms anymore. You have a logical, powerful map for figuring out any network issue that comes your way. Remember, this isn't just about passing a test. This is a fundamental tool for your entire career in IT. That wraps up section 1.1. Make sure to check out the next section as we continue exploring the topics in the CompTIA Network Plus exam.